Can you see the slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let us start with the properties of steel. We have to deal with the properties of the steel which are or the which material can be used for construction. There are n number of steel grades available in the market, and the uses of steel are also different. But all the steel material or all the steel grades available in market cannot be used for the construction. The steel sections having specific property only can be used for construction or erection of the steel structures. So these are the properties you can see here in this table. There are two compartments in the table. The top three rows are representing the standard structural steel, the properties of steel which are conforming to IS 2062. And in the second part, you can see the microalloyed medium or high strength steel conforming to IS 8500. So for construction of a steel structure, we have to use a steel conforming to IS 2062. So these are the properties given. The second one which is given, it is not applicable for construction, or the sections which we are using for construction or erection of any structural building, whether it is a frame structure or industrial structure, it should conform to IS 2062. Now, what it gives? It gives basically the two important or three important parameters: the strength of the steel. The strength may be measured at two different stages. Now, you need to recall the stress strain curve for steel. There are two major stages. At one particular stage, the limit of elasticity ends, and the stress corresponding to that we call as yield stress. So the yield strength or yield stress corresponding to the yielding point, that is the important property. And the second is the point where or at which the steel shows the maximum stress or steel reaches to its maximum stress. What is it called? That point? Steel showing its maximum stress. What is it called? Students, are you there in the class? Hello?
Breaking point.
No. Breaking point?
Ultimate stress.
Yes. Breaking point is the point where the steel fails. If you recall the stress strain curve, the breaking point, at the breaking point, the corresponding stress is little bit less. Okay, as compared to the maximum value. Maximum value is called as the ultimate stress. Okay, so you need to keep the stress strain curve for steel all the time in your mind, because how it behaves under the axial tension, that we need to understand first, and accordingly the design steps are there, or the properties of steel based on its behavior under axial tension is considered in the design also. So you have to all the time keep in your mind how the material behaves under axial tension. Okay, so ultimate stress is the another important property. We require both these values in the design also, the yield strength or yield stress as well as the ultimate stress. Now you have already learned the design of RC structure, where you have used the stress value of the steel. What is that value you have used? You have used the stress value for the steel, which we represented as Fy, right? Or Fe. What is that?
Yield.
0.85 FY.
Again?
0.85 FY.
No, no, Fy. Fy value. What is the Fy value you have used?
415.
415. Only 415 all the time?
250. Then 500.
Huh. So you have used three grades for RC bar, sorry, for reinforcing bar, and which represented three different values: 250, 415, 500. All these are actually your yield strength. Okay. Now for structural steel conforming to IS 2062, we have to use a steel whose yield strength is always 250. You can see here the values are 250 all the time. Okay, why the change in the value is there? It is because of the change in the thickness of the section. Okay, so for different section thickness, the yield strength value is little bit changed. But practically we use always in the design or in the calculation 250 value. So this is your FY 250 value. Now here in steel structures or in the design of steel, we do not use FY term to represent a grade. Okay, or to represent a strength. We use FY always to represent the yield strength. Okay, now this value is always used as 250, and second is the ultimate stress, which is represented by Fu. It is used as 410. So there is no question of 415, 500. Those grades we are not using for structural steel. Okay, so there is a difference between the reinforcing bar and the structural steel which we are using in the form of various sections. Is it clear to everybody? The yield strength value is considered as 250 all the time, depending upon the thickness of the section. The thickness of the section for the construction, we are always using less than 20 mm. Very rarely we are going beyond 20 mm. In that case, the corresponding yield strength value should be used in the design. But if the thickness is less than 20, we always go for, or we always go for the section having thickness lesser than 20 mm. Okay, the corresponding values of ultimate stress, which is represented as Fu, these are given over here. Now, what are these? These are designated as Fe415. Now, in case of reinforcing bar, we have used a notation as Fy250 or Fe250, Fe415, Fe500. Here we have to use only Fe410. There we are representing yield strength. Here in the notation we are representing ultimate stress. So this is a different, and don't get confused with that. Okay, so designation is always used as Fe410, and Fe410 means its ultimate strength is 410 and yield strength is 250. Now there are again three different grades A, B, C. So what is the meaning of A, B, C? These are given at the bottom of the table. Grade A steel is to be used in structures subjected to normal condition, that is for normal environmental condition. Grade B is used in structures where service temperature does not fall below 0 degrees Celsius, but the temperature is lower than the normal room temperature. Okay, usually specified for structural parts prone to brittle fracture or subject to severe fluctuation of stresses. So the location where there is a fluctuation in the stresses, a large variation in the temperature is observed, and because of that the brittleness in the material gets developed. So if the structural parts are subjected to brittle fracture, we should go for grade B steel. And grade C steel has a guaranteed low temperature and impact properties. Means if a structure is to be erected in a location where the temperature is always below minus 40 degrees Celsius or up to minus 40 degrees Celsius, below zero, or where the environmental temperature, surrounding temperature is in negative terms, very cold region, there we can use the grade C. So depending upon the environmental conditions, the properties of the steel materials are varied, and according to the environmental condition we have to use the appropriate grade. Now for normal condition, for our design purpose, we will be using first row value always, that is A grade steel, Fe410 A grade. Okay, so let us see what are the properties. Its Fu value is 410, its Fy value is 250. The percentage elongation is given as 23 value. Charpy and Charpy notch impact energy is not mentioned over here, but it is around 27 only. Okay, this is the minimum value. So these are the values we will require, mostly these two values in the calculation. Is it clear now? All this information you will find out in IS 2062, and the same table you can find out in IS 800 also, but I will show you little after a little while, because I have to show the other properties also. So let us come to the next property. There are certain other mechanical properties which will require in the calculation. The first is modulus of elasticity, which is represented by capital E, and the value is taken as 2 into 10 to 5 Newton per mm square. Shear modulus value is given over here. Poisson's ratio, Again, if you are dealing with the elastic range uh, and the plastic range, the values are different, and according to the Poisson ratio value should be taken into calculation. Now when you do the calculation related to steel structure, in the design of steel structure, you have to keep always in mind that okay, the steel is in elastic range or steel is in plastic range, depending upon the state of the material, or depending upon the yielding condition of the material, so that these care you need to take take or consider in the design all the time. So again, I'm repeating, stress strain curve should be perfect in your mind. How the material behaves under tension, that should be known to you very clearly when you are studying the design of steel structure. The coefficient of thermal expansion value is also given, and all these values you can find out again in IS 800. There are some important other properties that also you need to understand when you design the steel structures. The first property is the ductility. Ductility of a steel is defined as the property of a material by virtue of which it undergoes large inelastic, that is permanent deformation, without loss of strength under the application of tensile load. So if you can recall the tension test in which a steel bar is subjected to the axial tensile force, it shows the large amount of elongation before breaking or before failure. So, this elongation is possible only because of the property that is the ductility. And because of this only, this material, steel as a material, is very, very famous or very important in case of this structural design. Or, or in other terms, because of this property only, we can use steel as a construction material. Because and that's why the cost of this material is also very high, because it has this property, ductility. Because of this only, we can erect a very strong structures which can give the indications or warning before the complete collapse. That is the major property of a steel, ductility. Second is hardness. Hardness is another important mechanical property of a steel, by virtue of which it offers resistance to the indentation and scratching. That is, if you try to make a or develop a scratch on the surface of a steel, it is not easily. We cannot get a scratch easily on a structural steel surface. Okay, and this is because of the hardness of the steel. Hardness value varies with respect to the grade of the steel. Obviously, whenever we need to use a steel, a very hard steel, obviously the hardness value or the grade of the steel having a higher hardness value is to be used. For many of the machineries which requires a hard steel parts, there the hardness test is made compulsory. For structural steel also, we should check what is the hardness of the given material, and this value is calculated or measured by using three different tests which are designed by three different researchers, and that's why the names of those researchers are given to the test. One is the Brinell hardness test, second is Vickers hardness test, and third is Rockwell hardness test. All these tests requires the specific test setup to find out the hardness. I think we have the Brinell hardness test in our college, which is there in mechanical department, because we are not testing the hardness value in SOM, but it should be checked. Okay. The another important property is the toughness, which if you have performed the test for MOS 1, and if you are recalling the Charpy and ISO test, which gives you the impact value, it represents actually the toughness of the steel. So it is a mechanical property of a steel by virtue of which it offers resistance to fracture under the action of impact loading. So if you recall the impact test by Charpy and Izod, again these are the two different researchers who gives you the specific test procedure to find out the toughness of the steel or any metal. And actually the toughness is defined as the ability to absorb the energy up to fracture, how much energy the steel or any metal can absorb before it gets fractured. And it is normally represented by the area under the curve of stress strain. So if you consider this diagram, it is a stress strain curve for different materials, two different material. One is a brittle material. You can see here its failure is much more earlier as compared to the second material, that is the ductile one. So its stress value is also lower and strain value is much more low because it don't have any ductility property. So it fails suddenly in a brittle manner. And if you consider the area of this curve, it is very small. So obviously the toughness of that material is also small. And if you consider any ductile material, it has a good capacity to carry the load, axial load as well as the impact loading also. So the area under the curve is large, which represents a large capacity to absorb the energy before fracture. So this represents the toughness. It is also the important property. So toughness, we can say that it is directly related with the ductility. If any material is having a lower ductility, obviously its toughness will be lesser. Next is the fatigue. Fatigue is the another important property which is defined as the damage caused by repeated fluctuation of stresses which leads to the progressive cracking of the structural element. Any structural element, when it is subjected to a successive or repeated fluctuation of stresses, it means normally any situation or any specific situation in which the material is subjected to cyclic type of loading, that develops a fatigue in the material. And when a fatigue is developed in the material loses its ductility, it behaves like a brittle material and it fails easily and in a brittle manner. So but fatigue is very harmful condition. Development of fatigue in a steel is a very harmful condition. We should consider this property of the material also in the design, especially in a zone or in a region when there is a large variation in the temperature. Like in the morning period the temperature is very cold and in the afternoon period the temperature is very high. This Rajasthan is the area in India where you can find out such type of a temperature variation. Again, in the evening or during the night period, the temperature goes down. Okay, so that large variation in the temperature develops a fluctuation of the stresses. So freezing thawing action, whenever there is present in a specific location, the materials in that location gets develop a fatigue. This property is not there for concrete. Huh? Concrete normally does not show any changes or it does not shows or develop the fatigue as compared to the steel. Steel is prone to develop the fatigue. So whenever we design a steel, we have to consider into the design what are the effects of temperature variation depending upon the surrounding condition. Okay, so fatigue is another important property. Many times whenever you want to erect any structure or any structural components, when you want to design in a location where there is a possibility of development of fatigue, we have to design those structural elements in a separate manner, in a different manner, by considering this fatigue. We need to calculate the fatigue strength in that case, and for that we have to design the section. So fatigue is the another important parameter. And the last is the resistance against corrosion. Corrosion, everybody, we all know what is corrosion and how it takes place in the presence of moist air, that is in the presence of water and air. The corrosion of steel starts, and it is again a very extremely important aspect because the corrosion, once it starts, we cannot control or we cannot stop it. We can control, but we cannot stop it. Control means what? We can lower down its rate, but we cannot stop it. Once the corrosion starts, we cannot stop it. So we can only lower down its rate, its speed of getting corroded. Okay, so for that we need to take the precaution. Obviously, the major precaution what we take for steel structure is that we apply a paint which may be a corrosion resisting, or a normal paint is also applied, or sometimes we apply a metallic coating or a different coating of the material which avoids the corrosion, but once it starts we cannot stop it, that is for sure. So this is again a very important parameter for steel. It either may not be say after 10 years or 15 years, but it some or other day in its tenure or in its lifespan, it will definitely corrode. So we have to take care about the corrosion of the steel parts. Besides that, there are some another important terms which are associated with structural steel. That is, whenever we design a steel in the structures, two important aspects we have to consider. And these aspects definitely have the impact on the behavior of a structural member. And depending upon which type of loading or which type of stresses are developed in the material. The first important thing is a residual stress. Now we have already discussed about the manufacturing process of a hot roll steel section. Hot roll steel sections are manufactured under a very high temperature. That is, the iron is heated up to or more than 1500 degrees Celsius temperature, and then it is poured into the required shape, into the mold of a required shape, and then the entire section is allowed to cool down. So initially we are heating the material to a very high temperature, and then we are cooling down. So this heating and cooling, these two effects has or it develops certain amount of stresses. Okay, because cooling of a steel section or the different components of steel section does not take place at the same time. If you consider the example of a eye section consists of a flange, web, top flange, web, and bottom flange. So both these three different components do not cool down at the same time. There is a variation in the timing of cooling down, and because of that, the uneven heating and cooling condition get developed in the material, which gives rise to residual stresses in the sections. Okay, and because of this, what happens if the residual stresses are present in the section, when we subject it to the compressive action, it has a very bad impact. When we subject any structural component to the compressive stresses or compression axial compressive force, because of these residual stresses, these members which are having a lesser thickness, they get easily buckle. Okay, so residual stress has a very bad impact when the steel sections are subjected to compressive action. It does not play not it does not play a important role or vital role in case of tensile stresses. But in case of compressive stresses, we need to take care about these residual stresses, and all these are taken care in the design steps itself. Why we have to apply certain factors in the design, you will come to know when you learn about the design of compression members. Second important is the stress concentration. Now stress concentration, this concept you have already learned when you perform the impact testing. Just now we have discussed about the Charpy and ISO test. So in impact test, we actually purposely develop a location where the stress concentration will be there. How we prepare that location? Do you remember the Charpy ISO test, impact test?
Preparing a notch
Correct.
for the sample.
By preparing a notch. So at any particular surface, when we prepare a notch, we are actually changing the size and shape of that particular material. So there will be abrupt change in the size and shape in the material. And because of that, at that particular location, there will be the large stress concentration. And when there is a large stress concentration, obviously at that location, the material behaves like a brittle material, and it gets broken easily. It breaks down easily. Okay, so the same thing happens in case of structural steel members also. And we are actually making or developing the areas of stress concentration by making holes in the section. Why we need to make holes? Because we want to insert bolts through those holes. Whenever we go for a bolted connection, we are actually developing a stress concentration areas along the surface of a steel section at various components. And these locations are actually problematic for the steel section. Though these are helping for getting connected with another section, but these are the locations of highly localized stress concentrated areas. And obviously, these creates problem when we subject such sections for axial tension. So in the design, when you learn the design steps for axial tension or tension members, you will come to know how we are taking care of this particular concept. That is the stress concentration because of the presence of holes due to the insertion of the bolts. And that's why it is always considered that welded sections are better than the bolted connections. Why we are going for the welded connection for very important structure? This is the reason that we want to avoid the stress concentration. We want to avoid the reduction in area of the section also, because when we make a hole, we are actually reducing the sectional area at a certain location, and we are concentrating the stresses. So to avoid that and to get a very strong section, we go for the welded connections for very important structures. Okay, so these are the two important aspects, and we have, or a due care of these aspects has been taken in the design, that you will you will come to know when we start the actual design steps. Now coming to the codes, these are the different codes which we need to refer for design of any structural building or any steel structure or any industrial shade. The most important code is IS 800 2007. Second is IS 875 part 1 to 3, which gives the details about design loads, how to calculate the loads for dead load, live load, and wind load. IS 808, it represents the dimensions of hot rolled steel sections. Instead of IS 808, as we discussed in the previous lecture, you can go for the steel table, which is available in the market. Or instead of this, you can go for SP61. This SP61. It also gives the properties of the structural steel section. But either IS 808, SP61, or steel table, anything you can use for finding the properties of various steel sections. IS 2062, it gives the steel properties of structural steel, the specifications for the steel which can be used for the structural or construction purpose. IS 4000, it gives the details about the bolted connection. Details means actually it gives the properties of various bolts. See, in the bolts also there are different grade bolts are available. There are different types of bolts available in the market. So their properties and specification for the material you can see in IS 4000. IS 813, it deals related to the specification of welding. Okay, what are the various symbols to be used for the welding and what are the specifications? Again, there are different types of weldings. So what are the types and what are the symbols to be used and their specifications you can find out in IS 813. SP61, as I have told, it gives the various properties of steels or structural steel sections. SP66, this actually is related with the plastic analysis. The analysis, whatever you have learned in MOS 1 and MOS 2, it is elastic analysis. By assuming that the steel is obeying a Hooke's law, and for that only or within the elastic range only we can do the analysis. That is your elastic analysis. But when a steel goes beyond its elastic limit, when it enters into the plastic limit, how the steel behaves, there its behavior and its other behavioral aspects you can find out in plastic analysis, or how to analyze the structure when steel is in plastic state. So all these you can find out in SP66. And last is SP38, which gives, or which is a handbook for typified designs for structural steel with steel roof trusses. It gives the details about the various roof trusses. Okay. Now, if you are interested to learn all these in details, you should have all these codes and SPs or handbooks. But instead of going for or doing referring all these books, you can simply refer a good reference book for learning the design of steel structures. Okay, what is most important here, what we will require all the time during the lecture are the first three parts, that is the IS 800, which you will require every time for attending every lecture. IS 875, this will specifically require when you want to do the load calculation, and IS 808, or instead of that you can use steel table to find out the various properties of steel sections. Now the first one and third one you need to carry all the time when you attend the lecture, because without this you will not able to design any structural component. You will require the dimensions of the hot roll steel sections all the time, so you need to carry the steel section steel table all the time, or IS 808, and IS 800 is you will require all the time. So I will quickly show you now IS 800. What's the time? Okay, this is IS 800, general construction in steel, code of practice. Okay, I will show you each and every page here because all these pages are important. I will just show you the index first. The first section represents the general. You need to read this, huh? After completion of today's lecture or tomorrow's lecture, you need to read the first section because you will find out the various terminologies, definitions, and the symbols and units used for the structural steel and their properties also. So section 2 represents the properties of the material, that also you need to read. Section 3 represents the general design requirements. So this is you can read just to improve or recall your knowledge. Fourth is it represents method of structural analysis. So plastic analysis is important. Elastic analysis and their assumptions you have already learned. Plastic analysis, what is that you need to understand, because the entire IS 800 is based on the plastic analysis concept only, because we are using a limit state design for a limit state method for the design of steel structure. Now in section 5 you can find out everything about the limit state design. Again, the various limits in the design, the limit state of strength, limit state of serviceability, and what is the characteristic strain, design load, design strength, everything. Section 6 is related with design of tension member. Section 7, design of compression member. Section 8, design of members subjected to bending, that is beams. And section 9 is related with the member subjected to combined forces. This may not be required to you. And section 10 is related to connections. So why I'm reading the index? I have not read index for RC, that is IS 456, because in IS 456 we required some of the clauses only, and those clauses were given at various sections throughout the IS 456. So I discussed only those pages and those specifications. But here, if you consider, all the 10 sections knowledge is required when we use IS 800. Okay, only the ninth one, it is not included right now in your syllabus. That's why I've told that it is not required. If you consider the earlier syllabus 2017 pattern, or even the syllabus which is there under SPPU, this is required. You can also learn this, or this if you consider, or at the time of the design of industrial shade, I will show you how this is important. So all the sections from section 1 to section 10 are important, and you will require to know or read all the pages up to section 10 of IS 800. Okay. Section 11 is related with working stress design. We are not using that, so it is not uh, required to read even. And section 12, when you design the steel structures which are subjected to earthquake loads, then this section is also required. Okay, right now we are learning only up to the wind load analysis, so section 12 will not be required. Section 13, as I have discussed, it is related with fatigue. So whenever we want to design any steel structures which is subjected to fatigue action, we have to follow all these clauses given. Section 14, it is designed by testing. So various testing conditions and acceptance criteria are given. Section 5 is related with durability. 16 is fire resistance. 17 is fabrication and erection. Okay, so all the sections of this IS code are important when, if you are working as a structural consultant and you are dealing with the design of steel structures, the entire code, knowledge of entire code is important. Okay, now let us come to the first part. This gives us the general information, and it actually gives the definitions of various concepts, terminologies. For example, a built-up section. A member fabricated by interconnecting more than one element to form a compound section acting as a single member. This gives you actually the definition of a specific concept or specific word which is being used in the design. Buckling load. What is the meaning of buckling load? What is the meaning of brittle cladding? Okay, all these terms are important. Beam. What is the meaning of beam? What is bearing type of connection? What is actual length? What is effective length? Everything, all these terminologies are clearly specified in this code, and their definitions are given here. So I inform everybody or instruct everybody that you go through all these terminologies. Now, if you consider this end distance, it is actually one terminology which is always required in the connection. And during the oral examinations, we ask define end distance. Or even in the theory examination, you may be asked to write down the meaning of end distance. So it is given here in the code. Don't need to mug up everything. Okay, everything is given in this code. That's why I've told that without this code it is very difficult to design any given steel structure. All the definitions, the terminologies used here are given. Now, along with these definitions, symbols which are being used throughout the entire code are also given here. AG represents the gross cross-sectional area. So in the formulas, all these terminologies are or these symbols are used, so you must understand the meaning of each and every symbol. So all these symbols are also given in the code in the initial pages. Okay, too many symbols are there because too many formulas we have to deal with when we design any steel structure. Then the various dimensions and corresponding codes are given. So I will quickly go to this. This is again the important point or specification. What are the conventions? Member axis. Which axis we call as axis, which as YY, which as ZZ, which is the major axis, which is the minor axis. You have to understand all these because based on this axis system only, all the formulas are derived and represented in this code. If you change the axis system, the formulas which you are using referring this code will not be applicable. So this is very important that how the axis system is used, and according to that axis system only all the formulas are derived. So I will just show you the axis system. See here, this is the YY, whereas horizontal is ZZ. Now, if you open your steel table and if you look the diagram given of any cross section, they use the term XX for horizontal axis. Okay, so this difference is also very important to keep in mind. For steel code, that is for IS 800, horizontal axis is represented by ZZ, whereas in steel table the horizontal axis is represented by XX. This is a difference, and this you have to understand every time, because again CXCY, that is the location of centroid, its distance from x-axis, z-axis, y-axis, everything is required in the calculation. And all these you have to understand that from which axis we are measuring the distances. Okay, so in case of angle section, what is the UU axis, what is VV axis, which one is major, which one is minor, everything you need to understand properly. So you have to read all these specifications carefully. Okay, then the properties of material. You can see here this particular clause. All the structural steel used in general construction coming under the purview of this standard shall before fabrication conform to IS 2062. So whatever the properties or specifications of steel are given in IS 2062, that steel is to be used only when you are referring IS 800 2007 for design. Okay, so this is clearly mentioned here in the code that this is the steel grade which is required when you are using all the formulas. Then the various properties are also given here. Whatever I have shown you just now, the physical properties and some of the mechanical properties, their values are given over here. So you have to refer the values directly from the code. If mechanical properties are also there, then see, this is the table. which gives the various codes and the steel corresponding to that code and their properties. So the grade of the steel, the yield strain, the ultimate strain, the percentage elongation, everything is given for different steels conforming to different codes. Okay, now our code is IS 1062, which is given here. Okay, this table we have already discussed. IS 2062. So these are the different grades for which the specifications are given in IS 2062. We are dealing with this. E410 or sorry E250 or FE410 ABC. These are the grades. Okay, so E250 represents the yield strain, FE410 represents the ultimate stress. Their properties are given over here. Okay, so this is IS 2062. Rest all is not required for us right now. Then the various codes related with the bolts and nuts, various codes related with the welding. Then coming to the next section, that is the general design requirements. So all the definitions of the um different types of loads are given here. You can see here the various load combinations are given. You can see here the load combinations. Then general properties, section classification. This is the most important part which will require further. So maybe tomorrow's lecture I will inform you, or maybe in the next week lecture I will give the information regarding this. So all these page number 17, 18, 19, you need to understand. You need to understand how to make use of the table. You will deal now n number of tables in this code. Every table, how to use it, that is also important to understand. What are the values given in the table and how to use them? What are these various diagrams? These diagrams have a specific meaning, and every diagram is linked with a specific table. So using IS 800, it is very important to understand now how to use the code. That is also important. Okay, then the various values for slenderness ratio, you will require this table also. So all the sections, whatever I have told you, all sections are important of IS 800, and everything you need to read at least once before giving the final exam of this particular subject. Now coming to the analysis methods, the general information regarding analysis, first order analysis, second order analysis, at least you will come to know what is the meaning of these words. What do you mean by first order analysis? So you just go through all these pages. Then limit state design, the definitions, the concept of limit state, then characteristic actions, characteristic load, their definition, uh, then design load, design actions, their definitions, partial safety factors for steel, for load, and for material. All these tables are required. You have to understand what is the value, what are the values given in the table. Deflection limits, this table is also required. Okay, so I will stop here because up to now, up to this, actually I involved, I have included all this table in my next presentation or next slides also. So is it clear, guys? IS 800, how much it is important, and from next lectures onwards you have to carry this code compulsory with you. Are you having this code? Have you downloaded this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Good, good, good. Okay, now I will come back to the presentation. So these are the codes, and we have discussed about IS 800. IS 875 I will discuss later during your practical session. Now let us see what are the uses of steel in a structure, or how we are making use of the steel for constructing various types of structures. Steel in two different forms is used in the construction. One is in the form of a plate or sheets, and second is in the form of a various steel sections. Okay, when the steel structures are used in the form of a plate or sheet, we can construct these three various types of structures like tanks, chimneys, or steel roof coverings by making use of a steel sheets or steel plates. But if the same steel, when we use in the form of a specific section, like I section, channel section, T section, angle section, we are actually forming different members of a structure, and these members are identified as a tension member, compression member, flexural member, depending upon the load they are carrying or the stresses they are developing due to the action of the loading. Okay, so these, when we assemble all these members together, we call them as a frame structure. Okay, now the frame structures, either in the form of a truss or in the form of a rigid frame or girders, are used as a steel structures. Okay, so let us see now these types of structures. You can see here, these are the tanks or silos. These are also called as the silos. These are constructed by making use of steel sheets or steel plates, which are curved, and they are given this shape. Okay, so these are the tanks. This is actually tower like a structure, microwave tower, and this is a chimney. Okay, all these structures, steel structures, are made by simply using a steel plate, which are curved or which are molded in a circular shape. Secondly, this is a frame of a steel structure. So frame structure is the second type of a steel structure in which the various steel sections are connected together. You can see here, these are the horizontal members, then vertical members, and these are the bracings used to make the entire system more and more stiff, to avoid the buckling and to make the steel frame rigid. You might have known or gone through these terminologies: a rigid frame, stiffness, or additional bracings used in the structure. All these are related with the truss. When you have learned the trusses, you must have learned the basic concepts involved in the trusses, that the stable truss, unstable truss, rigid truss, indeterminate truss. Okay, all these are having a specific meaning depending upon how many number of members you are connecting together to erect the entire frame. Okay, so this is a frame structure. Now this frame structure is actually a skeleton of your structure, and it is covered by, again, either by using a concrete or a sheeting material, or sometimes some another composite material is used to cover this and to give a very nicely looking, aesthetically good structure. So you can see the example. This is the skeleton of a steel for the office. Then this is the finished office building. So it is covered by concrete. So in this fashion, the different structural members or structural units are erected by making use of the steel frames. So this is a truck shop. Then this is a light industrial structure. So this is the original skeleton. Then it is, after erection, it is covered by the using another material like concrete or partition wall, partitions, and then the storage units, the power plants, different types of structures are used. So when we call any steel structure, we are actually not using only steel for the construction. Okay, there is a combination of another material, the external walls, the exterior covering of the entire structure is done by using a different material like concrete, or even by the steel also. You can see in this particular I will go back to that diagram again, or the photograph again. Mm, just a moment. This one, these are actually the steel sections only. So the um, steel sheets, or in Marathi we simply call it as a patra. Okay, patre, steel che patre, these are used to cover the entire building. Okay, so different materials are used to cover or close or enclose the entire building, but the basic skeleton of a structure is made by making use of a steel structural sections. Okay, now this gives us the industrial buildings. Uh, this is the building, how it looks from the outer side, but when you go into the interior part of the structure, it will look like this. So you can see here a large open space is available for working. This is possible because of the steel structure only, because we are putting a truss, either in here you can see here, these are the trusses, these are the trusses which are supported on the columns, and you can see that the large open space is available for the work. So that's why these industrial sheds are always constructed by making use of a steel, because you cannot provide such a large or huge space when you go for the RC structure. Minimum 4 meter, 5 meter spacing is actually required between the columns, and you cannot get a such huge open space, because the beam, if you not provide a support to the beam, it may deflect, and deflection is very harmful in case of RC sections. It is easily possible that higher values of deflections we can go with respect to the steel sections, because these are ductile, these are not these are not brittle. So steel, because of the most important property, ductility, we can construct a huge open spaces by constructing such type of industrial shades. Again, besides the ductility, the steel has a good capacity to carry the vibrations. Concrete, on the other hand, is not very good in carrying the vibrations. It may develop cracks easily when we vibrate it. So again, this is another important property of a steel, that it can sustain huge vibrations. And that's why the industrial shades or industrial structures are always constructed by making use of steel. These are the steel bridges you can see here. Obviously, the cost of steel bridge and RC bridge, if you compare, the steel bridge cost goes to the huge amount always, because steel itself is a very costly material. But a good aesthetic view can also be obtained by using a steel section. Obviously, their design becomes little complicated. Connections required will be increased or more complicated if you go to the aesthetic views. Okay, so these are the examples of steel bridges. Then the another important term is a plate girder bridge. This is a bridge also again, but it is called as a plate girder. Now many times what happens, the depth of the section, steel section which are available in the market, they may not be sufficient to carry the movement. We require a larger depth beams to carry the huge movements. In that case, instead of going or using the steel sections, we have to go for a built up sections. And those built up sections are formed in the form of connecting or in the form of a plate girder. This is a girder means beam, which is made by connecting different plates. So the name is plate girder. So plate girder consists of a top flange, top plate, bottom plate, which forms a bottom flange, and a vertical plate, which forms a web. So this is actually a side view of the plate girder. So top plate is your top flange, bottom plate is bottom flange, and this gray color area you can see, this is a vertical plate. It is actually a beam. So it is in the cross section, the girder is having an I shape only, but the depth of these beams is huge, and because of the excessive loading, we need to provide the higher depth beams, and in that case the web becomes slender and it easily buckles. So to avoid that buckling, we need to provide certain supports, and these supports are called as stiffeners. So these vertical lines, whatever you can observe here, these are the stiffeners which are provided to avoid the buckling of the web. So this is another important type of a plate girder. In Pune, you can find out this plate girder near the RTO. If you are resident of Pune, you might be knowing the RTO area, and there is one bridge which is called as a Sangam bridge. So Sangam bridge is nothing but a plate girder, or even the plate girders are available on the Pune railway station also. Some of the bridge they are constructed by making use of plate girders. Okay, so this is about the various properties of steel sections. Now, how to design the structure, the basic philosophy, everything we will discuss in next lecture. We have already discussed this while studying SDD 1, that is the design philosophy. But I will quickly go through that philosophy once again, but we'll go in the next lecture because right now the time is over. So I will stop now this presentation, and I will give you the attendance link for attendance in your chat box. You give me the attendance through that link only, and immediately after 15 minutes we are meeting again through the same link, because the same link I have given here for the practical. Okay, so use this link now, whatever I have given in the chat box, to give the attendance for your theory lecture. Practical we will be meeting again after 15 minutes at 9 a.m. All batches will join for SDD2 practical only today and also tomorrow. I have given the message for today only in the WhatsApp group, but tomorrow also you are joining, all batches you are joining to the SDD2 practical only on, and Wednesday you have to go, all batches will join environmental engineering practical. Okay, these adjustments are specifically made for 2-3 weeks because I want to teach you the TOMOC related part during your practical session. Okay, any doubts in this?